All right, we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? Well, a couple different people met the media today. DeForest Buckner talked with the media, as did Indianapolis Colts head coach Shane Steichen. So I want to kind of talk about and highlight some of the comments from both of these different individuals and some interesting comments from both of them on the good and bad side. And we're definitely going to break that down, talk about that. Before we do that, guys, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Thank you to everybody who checked out our reaction to Pat McAfee's comments. That video exploded. So if you're here from those, we really do appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to do all that stuff, and we're glad that you're joining Bring the Juice family. So with that being said, Derek, let's talk about this. So we can start here with DeForest Buckner, Derek. DeForest Buckner definitely had some very interesting comments today. And I think the biggest kind of highlight from what Buckner said today was he said basically, yeah, the Colts, we SHIT'd the bed. Like that's what he said. We crapped the bed, man. Like when it mattered, we crapped the bed, and just so frustrating in so many ways. And DeForest Buckner, being a guy, being a captain, being a guy that's been here for a while now, his words definitely ring true, man, for what he's felt. And I don't know about you, Derek, but right off the top, you can't help but feel for a guy like DeForest Buckner, who has put his heart and soul into this organization for the past, 4 years since he's been here, and still have not, made the playoffs. I guess they made the playoffs the first year with him, but have not gone to the playoffs since then with DeForest Buckner. So the first comment for what Buckner said, man, just about how the Colts, really did not come up to those expectations. What were some of your thoughts there on that comment and maybe some of the other comments you saw from DeForest Buckner? I'll try to find more of the comments that he said. He did add, another year. It's very frustrating to have this happen, another straight year of this happening. So what were your thoughts on Buckner's comments first and foremost?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely is very interesting to hear him, be so adamant to suggest the idea that, changes are coming and, those changes are going to be uncomfortable for some people. And we'll have to have those uncomfortable conversations because you're right. Like DeForest Buckner is one of the few people in this building that that has actually put it all together and has been amongst the elite since he's been here. And that no one can take away from the hard work and the determination and the production that a guy like DeForest Buckner brings you. He said some things today that a lot of people will look at and just say like, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're just sticking up for your guys." Like, I think I hate the fact that he's kind of pointing out like, "Oh, I still feel comfortable with our guys." And it's like, what's gonna change or what's gonna be better? And it's just like I feel like our guys are gonna figure it out. And it's like, no, they're not. Like they're not. They haven't figured it out. And like you're the captain of this team. Like call it out. Say like there are plenty of guys on both sides of the ball that are not getting it done. And you're right. And no crap that you shit the bed, bro. Like yeah, we know it. Like you've done it so many times in the last few years. Not necessarily saying DeForest Buckner, but you know what I mean. Like the Colts in general have done it so many times. And again, fans don't really care about your optimism for the team. Like we want full scale, everyone calling everyone out because that's just what's fun about it right now. I will say this again. He threw a lot of shade at like that. There's going to be some changes that are going to happen. What are those changes? We don't know, Cody. But he's adamant on it. And if that's the truth, then obviously it's going to be very interesting to hear and see what that develops. I think another interesting comment that he did make, and James Boyd pointed it out today, he was asked about Pat McAfee's tweet,
Yes.
about like guys being late to stuff like that and everything like that. Said we've had times where we haven't had people being accountable and we've called people out It happens in almost every team. I wouldn't say it was a constant issue. Well, I mean, here's the thing. So you have basically just showed that again, you have multiple times where you've had multiple players not show up to meetings on time and all these other things. You can't say, oh, it wasn't a constant issue if, if guys are doing it all the time. And guess what? It doesn't happen in almost every team. Yeah, there's an occasional bad apple, but like McAfee said the other day, like good teams don't have guys that skip on the important stuff or are late on the important stuff. Like that doesn't happen.
Right.
Like, and the fact that Defo is trying to, again, he's trying to stick up for his guys, but you're not fooling anyone, dude. Like, it is a big issue because McAfee wouldn't say it if it wasn't a big enough issue.
Right. And I'm saying, like, I think you hit it right on the head, No, not every team. Of course, things happen, but it's not just been a this year thing, Derek. This has been a consistent thing for years now. We heard the same sentiments and the same things coming out in 2022. I'm sure there was some last year we didn't really talk about because, hey, the team's kind of winning a little bit, right? But it's been a consistent theme at least the last couple years. So to say it's just a this year thing is not accurate. So it's very clear that it goes beyond even 2024. This has been a culture issue. And Frank Reich was a scapegoat. And again, did I think he deserved to be fired? Yes, I did. But
Yeah.
I think there was more there that you didn't cut out as well. And I think you didn't cut the head off the snake, right? The culture was still bad. The kind of the culture of the mediocrity that we've seen, Derek, it's still there. Very clearly, it's still there. And I think Pat put it good. In good cultures, that stuff isn't acceptable. That stuff is, held accountable and not just said we deal with it, but it isn't even ever an issue again. If it happens once, it shouldn't even happen once. But if it does, it should darn well not happen again. And we know at least twice we've heard reports of it happening. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. I know Defoe's like one of the nicest guys ever. So, him going out and saying that's probably not his style, even though, you and I would probably say we wish he would in certain points, because what's the point in trying to sell us on anything positive? Because the truth is you haven't made the playoffs 4 straight years now. There's not a whole lot of positive there. But, yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting, though, that Buckner did not deny any of that stuff that Pat McAfee said, and he understood why McAfee said it. I thought that was kind of interesting there. He also added the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. And within that comment you said about the changes, he said there will be uncomfortable conversations that are going to happen, which is definitely a good thing. I think there's far too many players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that are way too comfortable. Really, I don't think prepared the way they need to prepare. Obviously, what happened on Sunday, but they were just kind of comfortable where they were. It felt like they got.
Cody, did you see the clip that was going around about what Zaire Franklin was saying earlier today? Mm-hmm. So, in case anyone doesn't know, and this is all over the place, right? You go on social media, you probably find it just about anywhere. Just look up Zaire Franklin's podcast from back in August. He was talking about, I don't remember the full conversation. I think he was talking about Madden ratings, or he was talking about something. I don't really know. But he said, I would love to play a team like the Giants or play a team that I know will beat the crap out of, like the Giants or some shit. Like, it comes back to bite you in the ass, bro. Like, I mean, you were talking all this smack a few months ago, and now your season on the line, and here you are, and your unit plays like absolute dog shit. And it's like, dude, this is exactly why, and Cody, this is exactly why people tell athletes to just shut the hell up. Like, this is exactly why.
It'll come back to get you.
It comes back to kill you. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to just go and say things like that when, and especially when, if you think that highly of yourself, then you need to get a reality check from within yourself to Zaire Franklin. That's the number one thing. Number two thing is, again, anything can happen in the NFL nowadays, dude. These are all NFL guys. They're all good. Some of them are better than others, but all guys are good. So, like, you shouldn't be going out saying stuff like this. I mean, even the Chiefs, as honest and as, elite as they are, like some of the elite teams of the NFL, like, their guys aren't going on podcasts every week talking smack to opponents. Like, they don't do that. It just doesn't work out in your favor. So, I mean, yeah, that was just another comment. I know that's not something we were trying to cover in this one, but it felt like it had to be brought up because it's a very significant thing to kind of bring up today.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was what Buckner had basically said. He holds back a little bit more. I mean, he's never been that guy that's like super outspoken or super negative. So I think that's kind of just been him, for pretty much his entire career. So, but Shane Steichen had some interesting comments, and I think that, Derek, this is where I got a little bit passionate earlier because I was like, "What are we doing, man? Like, what is he saying?" So, just for reference here, if you haven't seen it already. They were talking. Steichen was talking to the media after Buckner. He said, "Yeah, I completely understand the frustration when things aren't going the right way. You're not winning football games in this league. There's going to be frustrations for everybody. The biggest thing is the guys, everyone in the locker room, and every one of the coaches are doing their jobs to the best of their abilities, coming into work every single day and making sure you're trying to get better at your job every single day." And I mean, right there off the top, Derek, that's not even what got me, passionate at first about it. But I kind of look at that and I say, that's a load of BS right there. Like, if you seriously are saying that after all this stuff is coming out, like, to quote Pat McAfee, you'd have to be blind not to see the red flags right now. So don't try to sell us on this. We're doing everything we can, because clearly you're not. And you can't sell the fans on that because we know better. We're not falling for this PR crap anymore, Derek. Like, we understand you clearly aren't. Like, maybe Shane, maybe you are when it comes to play calling. Maybe you feel like you are. But the reality is 1 to 53 and even the practice squad, like, there's clearly some disconnect. Because if you were doing everything you possibly could, then you would be in playoff contention right now. But you're not. You're eliminated. So, and I think, Derek, this even goes beyond Shane. So maybe Shane only knows what he knows. But that comment right there is just like, why are you like, it just doesn't seem like the right time to say that, right after this happens. Not only do you lose, but you get embarrassed by the worst team in football to come out and say that. I just think that rubs a lot of fans the wrong way. And from a PR standpoint, that's very much feels like a slap to the face for a lot of Colts fans.
Well, it's been an ongoing problem all year, and especially in the last 48 hours, that Shane Steichen has handled the media in the worst way possible. I mean, he has completely botched anything and everything that could go wrong or right when it comes to this team. The messaging is off, and half the time the correct information isn't even getting out. I mean, Cody, remember, I mean, this has nothing to do with the game, but like, again, the whole Anthony Richardson thing, you led everyone to believe that he was just having back soreness. And yet you didn't tell people until after the game that, oh yeah, he had back spasms.
Severe.
And they were actually very serious.
Yeah.
Like, very severe. And like, I mean, that is huge context that you just left out, willingly just left out. And it's like people are trying to justify it. They're trying to say like, oh, Steichen is trying to, take something out of the ammo from some people saying that Anthony Richardson is, injury prone or whatever. But like, you've already had the issue of Anthony Richardson tapping out in the game against the Texans. Regardless of whether or not you are trying to spare him the injury-prone narrative, I would rather be hit with the injury-prone narrative than the weak-minded narrative that now everyone seems to think he has because you neglected to tell people he had a serious injury Like, I would rather just understand that. Like, sure, I wished he would have been out there, and people could have speculated he could have been out there. So what? Like, that's fine, but you just lied to everyone. And, like, dare I say, Cody, like, Steichen might be as bad, if not worse, with the media than Frank Reich was. I mean, this has been a PR disaster
Oh, it's a
from
nightmare.
Shane Steichen this year. It has been terrible. And I can't believe I'm saying that because, like, at the beginning of his tenure, it didn't seem to be like that. But now this year, he just seems to not know the ins and outs of what he's saying to people, and it's just weird.
Yeah, it's like when you're the head coach, you need to be able to clearly communicate what is going on because, like, speculation runs wild, Derek. Like, if you don't have all the details, it could be a million different reasons, right? You don't know. So, yeah, I mean, that narrative right there, just the handling of that, it just feels like, Derek, there's been multiple times, regardless of how people feel about Anthony Richardson, if he's the guy or not, regardless of how people feel about him, you can at least accept the fact that Shane Steichen has let their young quarterback out to dry multiple times this season because he did not properly communicate what he needed to communicate. I mean, the tap out stuff, if you just want to say that's not the standard, you can't do that, just say it, right? Like, it just seems like there's been multiple times this year where your young quarterback's kind of been left out to dry by your head coach, the guy that you brought in to help develop him. And he's just gotten this really bad press because it hasn't been properly communicated to the right channels, right? In terms of what's communicated to the media, what's communicated to the fans, right? And that's just led, I think, to some negative perceptions. And again, some of them are warranted 100% with Anthony Richardson, but I think that's led to some negative perceptions, similar to like what you said recently with the weak-mindedness, that it's all been avoidable. But for whatever reason, Shane Steichen, from a PR standpoint, you said it, it's been a disaster. It's been a nightmare. And he's got a little bit more that I want to talk about here in a second. But before we do that, man, it just seems very crappy of Shane to do this not once, but multiple times this season for your young quarterback. And like we've said, essentially his pseudo rookie season, to do that multiple times to your young quarterback, leave him out to dry, and basically throw him to the wolves.
Yep. And, obviously that comment that, Steichen, when asked about the whole, meeting thing, and he said he even batted down on it too, was like, not everyone is going to be on time every time. Like, dude, you cannot say that. Like, you cannot sit out here and try to defend it. You can't do that. Like, yeah, of course, guys miss meetings on occasion if they're having a family emergency, if they were running into some traffic on the way into the building, or, some guy was sick and just happened to not be able to get there on time. Like, that stuff happens. It happens in the real world. It happens in sports. But McAfee specifically stated guys were showing up late, not because of that, but because they just didn't care. And yet here you are trying to defend it. Like, dude, it's terrible, Cody. I can't. It put a really bad light on Shane Steichen, and it should. And honestly, he deserves to be on everybody's crap list right now because, like, there's just no reason to support Shane Steichen right now for how he's handling this. Like, he's handling this like a guy that's never been in the spotlight before ever, and it's bad.
Yeah, you cannot on one hand say, we hold people accountable and then make comments like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you already know what the narrative is around you. You know what has just been said about you and what's been said about your building all year long. And to make a statement like that, again, Derek, he didn't mean it to come off the way it did. But again, Derek, like, that just makes it seem like you're confirming it. You are a part of the problem. Like, and I'm not saying he is, but if he's saying stuff like that, if he is doubling down, in fans' mind, it's like, I don't care if Shane's here again. If he's part of the problem. Like, if he's buying into this BS that the culture's fine, then he's just as deluded as everybody else in this organization. And if that's the case, blow it all up. I want a new head coach. That's how I think fans are feeling right now, and I don't blame them one bit because it's an absolute disaster by Shane Steichen. It's been a disaster all year long with the handling of all that stuff we talked about, and it just continues to be terrible. And again, Derek, I talked with Kevin Bowen about this a little bit earlier today. I'm like, you can't, if you try to run this back, how are you going to try to sell that to fans? I mean, honestly, fans are already, I mean, you check any post from the Colts or Jim Irsay, there's at least like 100 comments saying, fire everybody, blow it all up. Fans are fed up. Fans are done. I don't even know who's going to be at the game on Sunday. It's going to probably look like a preseason game. And you're coming out here and saying that BS? Like, come on, man. Have a little bit of awareness. Like, seriously. And again, some coaches aren't good with the media. Clearly, Shane is not. But he's got to learn that, man. If the Colts do decide, to keep him around, he's got to learn that, man. He's got to be able to speak to the media and communicate properly what needs to be communicated, and also know what you should just shut your mouth on and not say to the media. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, part of being a head coach, it's not just about, being able to do the X's and O's. You have to carry your team in a specific light, and I see Colts fans that are like, just get Steichen off the mic. Let's get somebody else out there. And it's like, but nobody wants to listen to what a coordinator has to say after a game. We want to hear what the head coach has to say, because that's what you get paid the big bucks to do, is not only perform on the field, but then explain to the fan base that pays your salary, hey, what happened? What happened in that game? Don't BS us. Tell us what is going on. And everything that has come out of Steichen's mouth in the last 48 hours, the 24 hours before the game, and many hours after the game, everything has been BS. Everything. And I mean, Cody, that's the kind of thing where I'm just like, if that's allowed, just get rid of everyone. Get rid of everyone and start off fresh. Find a guy that's like Dan Campbell that just decides no BS, we're not tolerating any mediocrity. Everything's going to be put out on the table. Like, it has to be, or else we're just going to continue to keep going down this same rabbit hole that we'll just never get out of.
Derek, I mean, we know the Colts haven't won the division since you and I have been like in high school.
Literally.
It's been that long, man, and we're pushing 30. Like, it's getting to that point, man. And it's just ridiculous. It's kind of like at this point, Derek, I was kind of on the point of like, I want to keep Steichen around, but if this is the BS we're going to be spun, like you said, get the flamethrower, take the flamethrower to it, burn it all down, and let's start over. Like, completely start over. Like, let's not try to do these like mix and matching like we've done. Like, if this is going to be the standard, and it's even gotten now to Shane Steichen, I'm just like, let's just move on, man. I just don't even, it's not even worth trying to just, maybe it'll work out. It doesn't work out. We all know it usually doesn't work out, Derek. So why not just rip the Band-Aid off and just start fresh? Yes, like you said it before, you might have less wins next year. But for the long-term success of your franchise, you got to burn the mediocrity to the ground. And you got to do it now. If you don't, we're going to be kicking the can down the road like we did with quarterback for almost half a decade. I mean, this franchise is a franchise of kicking things down the road, Derek. And fans are fed up. I know you and I are clearly fed up. I think media is fed up. I think everybody's fed up. But what matters is obviously the guy who's making the calls, Jim Irsay. And if Jim Irsay wants to get back to that excellence, or at least give yourself a fighting chance to get back there, you cannot continue this vicious cycle that's been going on for nearly a decade. You just can't. Because we're sick of it. We're done. And if you try to spin this in BS and this positive message, Derek, you're going to have very few fans next year attending games. Like, you thought this year was bad. Next year is going to be 20 times plus as bad. Like, fans are already checked out. If you don't do this, I know even like our friend Jason Spears says, if they Colts bring back Chris Ballard, I am not covering a single game next year, which is crazy. Like, that kind of stuff, like fans, die-hard, hardcore fans are going to be checked out. And if your hardcore fans are checked out, like, if Pat McAfee is not renewing season tickets, that should have some alarm bells going in your mind that maybe what he's saying is not complete BS. This culture's shot. This team is shot. It's time to start over. Burn it to the ground, start over.
Mhm.
Because it's been a cycle like this forever. And Derek, for our sanity, let's just end it, please.
Yeah, I like you said, I'm ready to move on. I don't really care who stays, like, or at least like I don't know. I don't care who if Steichen stays or not. But at the end of the day, yeah, somebody needs to get axed here, and it's time to move on. These comments are just excuses to be okay with mediocrity. Other elite teams don't deal with it, and we're not an elite team, so it's time to move on.
Yeah, the whole BS we've been spun, we're not that far away. Well, Derek, I think you said it pretty perfectly last night. We are far away. We are at this point. We're not even close to truly contending right now with what the current state of the franchise. So, yeah, man, some comments today. Nothing too surprising, though, honestly, from where we know the culture is. It's like if you don't acknowledge you have a problem, then you are the problem, honestly, which stinks. I love players like DeForest Buckner. He's been so great. And, I like Shane Steichen last year, but these comments, man, of some of this stuff, I think fans see right through it, and we're kind of done with it. So, I mean, again, Derek, next Monday will be really interesting and very telling for how the Colts truly view it and how Jim Irsay truly views it. And will the Colts be looking for potentially an entire new staff come Black Monday? We'll see. But guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure, like I said, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Help us get to 2,000 subs. We would greatly appreciate it. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Colts.